I'm Kieran Reade, and this is Rugby Wrap-Up.
Quick note, I don't have the luxury of speaking my mind on a lot of different things because I rely on relationships to help pay basic bills like rent. That's my reality. With that, I would urge USA Rugby members and fans to poke their noses into what's going on at USA Rugby. Ask the board questions. Ask the executive offices questions. Ask them about what's next, what's going to be announced in January, and what's the relationship with World Rugby going forward. Next on MLR Weekly, Rugby New York head coach James Semple, NCR champion Brown University head coach Dave LaFlamme, and Major League Rugby headlines with Rugby Morning's John Fitzpatrick. Rugby Wrap-Up brought to you in part by Sheehy Auto Stores. It's easy at Sheehy. The Pig and Whistle, the world's best rugby pub. And Lean and Limber, stretching your way to a healthier lifestyle. Hello again, and welcome to this week's MLR Weekly as presented by Rugby Wrap-Up. Matt McCarthy in New York City, and I am jacked. I am psyched. It's the holiday season, and we got a doozy of a show for you. We've got none other than the new head coach of Rugby New York, Mr. James Semple, plus the National Collegiate Rugby Champions, Brown University's head coach, Dave LaFlamme. But before we get to them, we have another stellar installment in Rugby Morning's Coffee Break with John Fitzpatrick. John, take it away.
Matt, it's so good to hear that your voice is back, but let's start in New England. They have re-signed Canadian lock Regan O'Gorman. He comes back for the 2023 MLR season.
Great retaining of a great player. He's a stud. Next.
Toronto Arrows, trade alert. They sent salary cap considerations in 2023 to San Diego for lock Corey Thomas. San Diego had acquired Thomas in the 2022 MLR dispersal draft. They have since traded him to Toronto.
I'll be more impressed when they get a hold of Thomas Corey. Next!
Let's stick with San Diego. They have signed U.S. eligible hooker Shiloh Klein. Klein had played in the NPC and for the Crusaders in Super Rugby. Pretty big signing.
Great signing, but if you're going to stick with somebody, you should go after the first time you mention them and not skip them and go back. Next!
I don't know what you're talking about, but let's go to Old Glory, DC, and let's do happy trails for Canadian international Luke Campbell. He is officially retired from professional rugby.
A warrior, and we're certainly going to miss the guy they called Soup. Next!
Last, but certainly not least, the Chicago Hounds. They have officially signed 3 players after selecting them in the MLR dispersal draft, but centers Mark O'Keefe, Billy Meeks, and fly half Luke Carty. Quite the backline signing so far. Matt, what do you think of that?
Nice pickups by James English and co, but Billy Meeks is going to freeze his bald head off. Next!
Matt, that's all I got, but I just want to wish you a very happy holidays and a happy new year. And I'm so looking forward to being a part of this in 2023. Thank you again, Matt.
Wow, his insincerity is not fooling anyone, ladies and gentlemen, but a happy and a healthy to you, Mr. John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Mornings Coffee Break. We'll be back with more right after this.
Selling or trading in your vehicle? Sheehy makes it easy. With Easy Trade, start online or visit us in store. We want your vehicle, and we'll give you up to 125% of KBB value.
It's easy at Sheehy. Sheehy.com.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
And we are back with Dave LaFlamme, head coach of Brown University, the National Collegiate Rugby Champions of D1. And why do we have a college coach on an MLR Weekly show? Well, because some of those players are going to be playing in Major League Rugby. With that, Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. Great to be here.
Dave, you're on today not just because you're stellar looking and intelligent and coach at Brown, but it's because your team are the National Collegiate Champions, D1. Congratulations.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Really happy to have won that this year.
And, you know, before we get the letters and the Reddit slams, yes, we know that there is another collegiate rugby championship out there, the CRAA. I would love to see you guys play the winner of that organization.
Possibly in time. Yeah, I think for us, you know, Matt, we're we were happy to sort of compete at this level. I think it's our second year in a row that we kind of dipped our toe into that big pond there. So we're really trying to build something special here, and I think we're really pleased at what we achieved this year. I think we do have aspirations down the line of potentially moving up into that spring competition as well. But for now, we're pretty happy where we're at.
Well, Dave, it wasn't an easy road either. I mean, you got some pretty good teams in this NCR setup, and more teams are joining, and perhaps we're getting closer to maybe a merger and under one umbrella. But in the meantime, it's still quite an accomplishment.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, certainly, if you look at the top teams now performing in sort of under NCR, a lot of those teams are recruiting players not only from America but from overseas. And I know for myself, when I do a lot of recruiting, it does become difficult to explain to people why there are two different leagues here in America. So, in my mind, if somehow the meeting of the minds could come together and merge that, I think it would be a better, cleaner setup for the United States going forward, particularly in the collegiate game.
What do you say, sir, to those that say Brown is just full of rich foreigners that know how to play rugby and they just bring him in with no problem?
Well, if you look at the overall makeup of my team, which is roughly 75 to 80 players, there is a high concentration of students that come from overseas, but that number is about 35-ish%. I haven't really checked it in the last few months just to make sure, but I don't discriminate in terms of where I recruit from. I recruit from almost every 50 state in the United States, as well as several countries outside of the United States. And it's just, for me, it's really about trying to identify the right player that's the right fit for Brown. Brown is an exceptionally challenging school to get into with a 5% acceptance rate. And additionally, the tuition is pretty high. I think last I checked, it was about $84,000 a year to attend Brown. So, I tend to go after players that play in high-level rugby programs and attend very strong academic schools all over the world. I don't think people realize that coaching is probably only 50% of what I do. It's all the other behind-the-scenes stuff, and from administrative work to recruiting. I mean, today, half of my day is spent on recruiting already today. I've been at Brown for 26 years. I came in 97 as an assistant coach to Jay Fluke, the longtime director of the program. And then in 2015, I was lucky that our alumni did endow a full-time coaching position. I would say there's not a tremendous amount of full-time coaching positions in the United States. But the big challenge is that, we don't have admission supports as much as I do get rugby players to apply here. I can advocate for them, but ultimately they need to get in on their own merit, academic merit. And, for a school that turns away an entire class of valedictorians a year, it's monumental when you look at what these kids had to achieve to get into Brown University. There's 8 Ivy League schools. So if someone's looking at Brown, they're going to be looking at Dartmouth. They're going to be looking at Harvard, Yale, Princeton, all the other Ivies. They're pretty much, we all have the same pool of applicants. So you can dilute that pool by 8, because not everyone wants to go to Brown. Brown is very, very unique compared to the other 7 Ivies. And that's what we kind of have as a leg over some of the other schools. It's the only school that's classified as an open curriculum, meaning there's no core requirements to graduate. Still have to take classes, but you can kind of pick and choose and create your own discipline based on the subjects that are available to you.
And Dave, there are other people that help you with this stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, the operations of the program kind of fall on my shoulders, but I wouldn't be as successful as we were this year, but not for the support of the university. I mean, the athletic department has been tremendous in sort of helping us achieve what we want to achieve. And that's all really made possible through a lot of generous donations and additional support. I mean, I have a 14-person board of directors that helps me with lots of my daily tasks. And they've afforded us the opportunity through their help and their support, both in administrative stuff and financially, to achieve what we want to achieve. We're classified as a club sport, but we operate as varsity-like as we can. but certainly everything, including my salary, has to be raised from independent funds.
Well, clearly your salary needs to be doubled for winning the national championship.
Well, that would be.
I mean, that's just
be
without.
great.
Hey, Brown, I'm talking to you, alumni. Double his salary. All right, let's get to the match itself. You played against Queens. Queens is a remarkable story. I think they're only 6 years as a rugby program, but they're or something like that, and they're facing off against you in the championship.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly I do my homework on teams before we play them, and the story behind Queens is an amazing one. I think what Frank has done down there, Queens, has been remarkable. And you can see that with the product they had on the field. You just watch the game. The game was a pretty highly contested game, and I know you want to get to some of those.
Boy, let's get to that game.
I thought it was an enjoyable match to watch, as ridden by yellow cards, as I'm sure you'll go into. But it was a contested match, which you'd expect out of two top teams playing against each other. It wasn't going to be a cakewalk for anyone.
There was 10 yellows and 2 reds. The second red coming on the last play of the game because it was the second yellow for your number 13, and that automatically turns into a red. I think you guys, what did you guys have, 6 yellows?
It was my winger that got
your winger.
Yeah. I think we ended up in the end with 6 yellows. One of them being on my winger, who got his second yellow, or sorry, I should say 2 of them being on my winger, and obviously 2 yellows equal a red in this game.
An auspicious end, but it was a lot of penalties, a lot of stops and starts. It's tough because you want to let them play, but at the same time, you're almost in a professorial mode as a referee. You're teaching, in a sense. But this is a championship game. A lot of stops and starts. Was that frustrating for you as a coach?
Refereeing is a tough job. I can't fault referees. I think they do their best to do, a good job out on the field, and, calls don't always go your way. Hey, you know about refereeing, Matt, because you and I were not only just rugby players together, but I think one time you were a referee in perhaps a TV show.
Yes, that's right. The Big C with Oliver Platt and Laura Linney, a Brown grad. Oh, I see what you did there. You got it right back. Yeah. Your front row and your pack, not the biggest, but very effective. Is it because you have the world's best scrum coach for your scrum technique?
No, I mean.
Oh, wait a minute. That's you. You're the scrum coach.
Yeah. Listen, I know a couple things about playing in the front row, having spent my life there when I played rugby. But, I also have Oliver Julian as my forwards coach, who went to Oxford, played for Wasp when they were in London and was a hooker. He was a front row guy. It's great to have 2 guys, on your coaching staff that know this side of it. And additionally, we have to mention the fact that I'm extremely lucky to have a guy by the name of Eddie O'Sullivan who does a lot of work with the program. While he may not be a front row guy, he certainly knows the ins and outs of different strategies to attack in both forward play and backline play. And I think he's been a major contributor to sort of our success. I've been coaching with Eddie probably 25 years. And he's been a tremendous mentor of mine, and it's a combination of all the coaches we have. I mean, I picked up a new coach this year, Ryan Grant. Ryan Grant was the head coach of Holy Cross. Holy Cross, a smaller team that had a lot of success. I think
the Crusaders,
small colleges, yeah. So
Kevin
Ryan
Swords and his son.
Right. I'll be coaching him next month because I'm coming back down to Houston with the All-Stars from the Northeast team. So, we've got quite a cast of characters going down for that one. But
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Zach Lanning of College Rugby Wrap Up. He's the 3rd most famous Holy Cross rugby player.
Okay. So, but back to your question about the scrum, you're right. We're not the biggest guys out on the field, but I think we're technically extremely sound in terms of our approach to scrummaging, and I think that's where we've had a lot of success. People underestimate us because we are smaller. I don't think either of my props is over 225 and maybe 230 at the most with one of them, but
they are very fit. They're very fit guys.
We're fit. They know the game. and it's not just the scrummaging that you get from my forwards. You get a lot of work, on the field. I mean, Dan Archer, my captain, who's from South Africa, I think he had 2 or 3 crucial poaches in that game.
Yeah.
That just saves your bacon, when you get into trouble. Like having forwards or props or hookers or whoever that can put that work rate in. If you look at this season, a lot of people looked at the fact that our backline may not have been the most dynamic backline on attack. They did what they needed to do, particularly on defense. We played 13 games this season. We scored almost 600 points, and we've given up 74 points all year. That's a tremendous feat in itself, to be able to go through a 13-game season and give up less than a try a game almost.
All right, so Dave, how many times are you going to repeat as champions now that you've gotten this thing figured out?
Well, we got a spring season to try to get through. We had a pretty successful spring season last year in sevens. We expect to do, equally as well. And unfortunately, last year the CRCs was on our graduation weekend, so we're unable to attend that. So we're trying to do what we can to make it to that tournament at the end of April. So that's the primary focus. The secondary focus will be for me once I know what my incoming class is, and that's the trick to maintaining consistency. It's having depth in your side, and at a school like Brown that doesn't have admission supports, you never know year in and year out. I mean, I have to cast a pretty wide net and get a lot of kids to apply. There's still a lot of kids that don't get in.
All right, before I let you go, you mentioned the spring. What do you think about the potential of one calendar across the nation for college rugby, and how important is that?
So I think it would be a really, really good move if the entire collegiate rugby landscape would play 15s in the fall and 7s in the spring. Now, that's my opinion. Everyone's got their own opinion, but I think it would make it a lot easier and help unify sort of those two competing leagues.
Okay, well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Dave LaFlamme, head coach of the national collegiate champion Brown University rugby team, demanding that we have one calendar. And I'm talking to you, Jack Clark and Tim O'Brien. We're going to get this done. We're going to get it done.
It'd be nice. So.
All right, Dave, I want to thank you, my friend. Much, much appreciated. Always good to talk to you, and best of luck coming ahead, and happy holidays. All right, we'll be right back with the head coach of Rugby New York right after this.
Been blind since I was 4, and I've never seen a beer commercial or a beer label. None of that stuff influences me. I drink beer because of the taste. And my beer is Pabst Blue Ribbon. It has the taste and the flavor.
What do you think's on the label?
I think there's a naked woman riding on a unicorn, jumping over fire. Oh, that's good beer.
With the new head coach of Rugby New York's Ironworkers, Mr. James Semple. James, welcome to the program.
Thanks very much for having me on, mate. Pleasure to be here.
We've been waiting for this reveal of you for a long time. It's like it's been this cliffhanger for Major League Rugby fans, specifically for Rugby New York fans. And finally, here you are in flesh and blood.
I know it's been, I can stop pinching myself now because it actually feels real that I'm actually here. I've sort of known for a little bit now, and it was just couldn't wait to get over here with visa and things like that. But phenomenal to be in this amazing city and sort of spent the weekend with my wife checking out the sites and just feel very grateful that we get to represent such an amazing city. Yeah, mate, I just can't wait to rip in and have everyone here.
And your rugby career took you from New Zealand to Scotland, to Romania, back to Scotland. You spent time in Dubai, and then you ended up as a player coach for the Utah Warriors. And you were a head coach of a very successful women's program.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, just finished up with Waikato Women's, which was one of the best experiences I've ever had. So amazing, and definitely taught me a lot as a coach and definitely as a person as well. So extremely grateful for everything the woman taught me and the experiences I have with them that can't take for granted. It was amazing time.
All right, I can't help but look at you, and I know others are going to look at you and say, "Well, he looks like he can still play." I mean, you're what, 33?
Yeah, in January I'll be 33, so currently 32.
Let's get to the question that everybody's wondering: are you going to be a player coach?
I've definitely left the boots at home because I'm not doing that again. I'm not good enough, and we've got too much talent here, so I'll just be sticking to the whistle for now.
Well, you had that happen to you in Utah where injuries, you went over there as an assistant coach, and then you ended up playing 10 to 16 matches, right?
I did, mate. I did. And that was really cool because I got a job back in New Zealand, a coaching job, and I wasn't allowed to play. And so I was only 27 then. And so I was probably a bit premature, but I always knew that I wanted to go into coaching, and that was my goal. So to have that opportunity to finish like a last sort of stint playing was awesome at Utah, and I love my time there, and it definitely helped me in terms of experiences that I can transfer now to my coaching. But yeah, I think to be a head coach and to do the job justice, I'll just be focused on this for now. And obviously it's a big job after what the boys did last year, winning the title, coming in, and I'm under no illusions that we are the hunted, and I'm obviously here to do a job and get the job done again.
And you mentioned last year, you're coming in, you have big shoes to fill, literally and figuratively, because Marty Veal was the head coach, right? He's a big man, big feet. Tell us about your coaching staff that's coming in with you and who's staying.
So I'll come in as head coach, and then we've also, when I sort of got the job, I got some names put in front of me, and the one name that I saw that stood out in bright lights, because I know him as a man and obviously as a coach and a player, was Ben Afiaki. I was lucky enough to go to school with him and play with him and seeing what he's done with the Blues. So he's been with the Blues for the last 6 years as scrum coach. And as soon as I saw his name, I was like, I think he's a really good fit for us. Compliments me well. Like, I'm pretty high energy, full noise. You don't want two of me going at it. So he's a bit more sort of goes about his business, ex-prop, very in control, and forward sort of dominance. So I think we'll balance each other well. So can't wait to be working with him.
Because you're a number 10/15, right?
Yeah, man. I'm probably a 10, 0 X factor. So I was a 10 that filled in at 15.
And he's a front row. Well, listen, New York is used to that because you had Andy Ellis playing fly half the time last year. Right? Yeah,
we're glad you brought up Andy. So that was probably, with the coaches change, I thought it was really important that we had continuity on what the team did really well last year. So keeping Andy, who was a massive part of the team, especially culture-wise, was really important for us. New coaching group coming in, probably don't know the strengths and weaknesses of the team as well as someone that's been here. So keeping Andy was crucial for us. So we've managed to keep him. And then we prioritised getting a really good video analyst in Aaron Hodge, who's been with the Black Ferns for the last 6 years and just won the World Cup with them. And we're really excited about what he's going to bring for us as well. And then, keeping so Steve Lewis is still here, and then Ollie Richardson as well, and John Love, the physio. So, I think Rick's done an outstanding job with putting the management squad together, and I think we're going to really complement each other well, challenge each other, and work really well together to get what's best for the squad.
All right. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about your stamp on a team. And this one's been brewing for a while. Is it a complicated plan, or is it a simple plan?
I see what you've done there.
It's painful. Sometimes it's painful on this show. I apologize.
I've had it before, mate, so don't worry.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, mate, I think rugby's a simple game, played by great men. So we'll keep it simple. We'll have a lot of fun, and I think once you see us start playing, it'll become pretty evident what we're trying to do here. But just excited to be representing the best city in the world as we believe. And I spent the weekend with my wife sort of checking out the sites, and it's just phenomenal. The vibe, The ambience, the noise, the energy was so unreal, and yeah, just feel very grateful to be wearing these colours and representing such an amazing city with amazing people. So excited to bring a game to New York, and for the fans, and obviously for the players as well. So yeah, pumped, mate.
Well, it's a lot for you to take on at once because you have to familiarize yourself, most importantly, with the players, right? And you have you even met all of them yet?
I haven't met all of them in person, but I've talked to all of them, and yeah, for me, obviously that is the most important thing. That's my job, is to come here and to make the players better and for them to have a positive experience through rugby. So yeah, that's my sole purpose, is to get the best out of each individual, to work together as a collective for the team. So that's something I pride myself on, and something I really am looking forward to doing.
Well, I know that you're busy because you've got all those boxes behind you that you have to unpack, but a couple of more questions for you. If your team's losing at halftime and they're playing like crap, do you go in and take apart a water cooler, or are you like a more calm kind of approach in resetting?
For me, mate, and I think the thing that separates the best coaches in the world is like your coaching intuition. So understanding what the group needs at a specific time, according to what's happened. So I think it's very, just dependent on what the game needs and how the boys are feeling, even involving what's happened in the week. So yeah, probably to answer your question, it just depends on the moment. But yeah, I guess if we're going to yell and scream, I'll probably use Ben for that, because me coming in there won't be too intimidating. I don't think we'll get a bit more effect out of Ben.
You got a lot going for you. The organization has gotten the new venue, the new stadium. It's got great turf. It's 3,900 seats, so you'll get a good crowd. They're serving booze, which is a big plus this year. Not knocking Hoboken, but it was a high school field, so you couldn't serve booze. It's going to be a great fan experience. They've got a nickname, the Iron Workers, so it's all in place now, and it looks like there's going to be some stability, which is great. Before I let you go, though, who's your favorite all-time player?
Mate, this is probably going to be controversial and surprising, but I was obsessed. Asked my mum.
Don't say it. Let me guess.
Oh, yeah. Who you got?
Johnny Wilkinson?
No, come
all
on.
Right, okay. All right. I thought you said controversial. I was like, well, no.
I'm a Kiwi. He's going to be an Auburn.
I know. Well, that would have been really controversial. But ABE, anybody but England. All right, go ahead.
Andrew Mertens.
Mertens with the kick.
Massive fan. I loved the way he could control a match. Obviously, I understand that Dan Carter is a more complete player, and yeah, Dan Carter will be in my all-time 15. But hand on heart, Andrew Mertens was my favourite player, and my best Christmas present I ever got was my rugby jersey my mum and dad bought me when I was 7, which was Andrew Mertens one that had number 10 on the back, and yeah, still remember that to this day. And yeah, obviously a great man as well, good sense of humour.
That's pretty cool. And is there a particular coach that you liked or want to kind of style yourself after?
Yeah, it's the professor, Wayne Smith, who I owe a lot to Wayne Smith. I just got a chance meeting with him through the rugby site, and that was nearly 3 years ago now, and to this day we still talk, and he's one of my mentors, and yeah, he's definitely given a lot to me, probably more reassured, and I've run ideas past him. He's just confirmed, which obviously gives me a lot of confidence, and yeah, he's an amazing man, and the best coach in my opinion that's ever lived. And if I can get half as good as he is, I think I'll go a long way to helping this team.
What's the one thing that you want to do in New York that you haven't done yet?
I think go to a Broadway show. Okay. I've heard Book of Mormon's good, and obviously with the time I spent in Utah, I think that will be interesting to see what they do comedy-wise with that.
Good choice. All right, Coach Semple, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time out. Look forward to catching up in person and seeing you this year, and hope the team does well.
Appreciate your time, mate. Thank you very much.
All right, on that note, we are out of time. I want to thank Mr. John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning, Mr. Dave LaFlamme, the head coach of the champion National Collegiate Rugby champion Brown University rugby team, and of course, the new head coach of Rugby New York, Mr. James Semple. And thank you for tuning in. Please check out our other shows, and please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Join our weekly newsletter, and please, please, please sign up for our American Red Cross blood donor team.